One of our ambitions is to help brands structure the unstructured data that starts to explode from their business when they're scaling quickly.
Welcome to Honest E-Commerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another on-location episode of Honest E-Commerce. Today, welcoming to the show, Samantha Rose. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm excited. After a lot of technical difficulties, we have got this figured out.
You don't have to linger on that.
I don't.
It was smooth.
When you read emails, it makes your life easier to use the equipment on location. That's all I have to say.
Understood.
Also, well, I guess just first at the top, let people know, what are you up to these days before we kind of go back in time and kind of walk through your journey in e-commerce?
Okay, well, where I am today has everything to do with where it all started. So I'm excited to talk about that. But I'm building software to help founders build brands and kind of focusing on the things that were the stickiest, hardest, and frankly, most fun to solve problems for me as an operator over the years. Built a bunch of tools that we dog fooded for years and then thought, it's ready for showtime. Commerce is chaos. Let's rock.
Absolutely. So what was that impetus, that aha moment that was like brought you into e-commerce?
That brought me into e-commerce. Oh, that's like a really way back machine. Well, the internet was a place to sell the thing that I was obsessed with. I did not get into this thinking I'm going to make a bunch of money. I got into it thinking I have this product that I really want to share with the world. It was a spatula, full disclosure. Not that that's a secret about me, but my headshot has a spatula in it. So it sort of follows me around. I broke a spatula in my kitchen. I'm a nerd. I figured out a way to make a better one, prototyped it, took it to the next phase, just kind of on the learning curve. As I went, kept picking up a lot of random knowledge about, manufacturing and operations and logistics. And
you're doing the thing on Reddit
and
where it's it teaches you how to draw a horse and it's one eye, one nose, and then it's the whole horse. You're skipping so much here. So you break a spatula.
Slow me down.
You make a better one.
Yes.
Walk me through that.
Tracking that. The making of the better one.
Yeah. Why did you even take that on?
It was fun. It was fun and it was a cool problem to solve. And I had a, little miniature thesis that I could make something in a better way. And I just started playing. I just started experimenting.
So when you're working on this, did you think you were going to build a business out of this, or it was just a fun afternoon weekend challenge?
It was somewhere in the middle in that so there's a lot of entrepreneurs in my family and I grew up around businesses that were being built. Some in some high tech ways and some in some pretty low tech ways, but people in my family were builders and building stuff. So I had that as a little bit of a backdrop. But this is not this is my joke. It's not a master's thesis, this business that I built. It was a $10 spatula. and so I made a buck or two per sale. And if I had been really thinking about building a business, I probably would be selling jewelry or something that's lightweight, easy to ship, not breakable, a huge amount of price elasticity and not a commodity. This was just calling it a passion project is stupid and reductive, but it was just something I was really having fun with. And it snowballed into being a business because other people, and not just my friends, were this is a really good idea. You should keep tugging on this. I'm no, it's I'm just doing this on the weekend. And it really was just this homebrew spatula experiment, to put visuals to the story. So there's a spatula and it comes apart in two pieces and there's the rubber head and most of them are at the time were either wood or stainless steel handles. And I look inside the hole for the part that came off, the rubber part. I'm oh, that's really gross. And that was just in my cookie batter. What if we just made the whole thing in this way? And then the next logical step is well, that's so obvious, right? very much generally believe that there's not that many unique ideas. There's just like really great execution or like mediocre or no execution. But like ideas are not that hard to come by in general. So I'm like, well, this has to exist. It's so basic. And I start searching and the internet and it didn't exist. And I was looking in stores and like it didn't exist. And I thought, well, okay, what if I just like take a chopstick and buy some silicone and like make a mold? So I made a spatula out of putty and I made a mold for myself and I put silicone around the chopstick in the mold. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like this tracks. It kind of works. But you can't really like eat with silicone that you buy on the internet.
Yeah.
Kids, literally don't try this at home. But I thought it was a good enough idea that I would just make a few as gifts. And then I thought, well, I'm going to kill my grandma. Literally, let's not do that. And so I thought, well, let me like formalize this process a little bit. Like I'll call a bunch of factories. And, the process of product development at that scale is really just a lot of smiling and dialing. I think it felt mysterious to me at the time. And then the more I leaned into it, the more I was just like, oh, I'm just talking to people. And then they're telling me things. And then I'm like talking to the next person that they introduced me to and they're telling me more stuff. So what came out of that was like, oh, you have to make a lot of these to make it a real product. And I had enough external validation, but I didn't do any market research other than this doesn't exist. And there was enough external validation that I was like, okay, let's kickstart it. So I ran a Kickstarter project and 1,500 people that I'd never met bought this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay.
There's maybe here. An idea here. Well, I really want to highlight what you said in that there aren't many unique ideas. It just takes better execution. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this show that want to start a business are waiting for that aha moment where they're like, I've got this next Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And it's like, no, take something that already exists and just make it better, do it better, find a differentiator to make it unique and make the value prop better. Like that's all you really need to do.
Yeah. Or like find an itch that you must scratch, right? Like a problem that you feel like you probably could stay obsessed with.
Yeah, I think
even when it
too.
becomes really boring, because there are boring troughs and then there's like extraordinary peaks of it all. And if there's a problem that grips you enough that you feel like you wouldn't mind doing it nights and weekends indefinitely, then like go for it.
Now, all right, you've got 1,500 people that buy your spatula. At this point, do we have a business or do we just have a lot of orders?
At that point, I was going to build a business, right? Like it wasn't a business, but then I knew what was next. And we were blessed by an extraordinary amount of earned media, which I think was just, just one of those really lucky things that I could not have manufactured in any way, shape, or form. And I think that looking back, and I was in it at the time, like feeling this, I felt product market fit for a few different types of products in my life. And this was one of those moments where like just people were finding my cell phone and like calling me and saying, like chefs, famous chefs were calling. I don't know how they found my cell phone. They're like, can I get 10 for the kitchen? I'm like, sure. So it's just pulling me forward, right? And I was having so much fun. And so I thought I'll build a business around this. But that didn't turn academic at any point. And maybe I would have built a bigger, better business if I had been more academic about it. But I was just kind of like doing the next right thing and building my little machine cog by cog by myself mostly. And then, I've like dragged my husband in and my best friend in, like my best friend's friend in, like just, kind of glommed people on to the problem as I went. And then you've got like 5 people on a mission with you and you're like, oh, okay, well, we have a business.
Absolutely. I don't think we've even mentioned the brand name yet.
We may
eventually. Stay tuned.
It was so that first brand that I founded was called Get It Right, and it's still exists. I've exited it to a great kind of a great new custodian, but I ran it for 9 years, and I started another brand in the internet connected coffee grinder space. That's not really a space. That's just an object. I started a brand in the coffee space. But it was an internet connected coffee grinder. And that was kind of my first crack at software development. We built a native iOS app for reordering coffee beans when your grinder said, hey, you run out or these are stale. So wrote an algorithm around that. And that was fairly technical. And then we really had a business.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify partner directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. What if every customer could help grow your brand without you lifting a finger? Social Snowball is the platform that turns word of mouth into a real growth engine for Shopify and TikTok shops. Here's how it works. Every time someone buys from you, Social Snowball can automatically turn that customer into an affiliate, giving them a unique referral link or discount code instantly. They can share it wherever they're already posting. Instagram stories, TikTok videos, YouTube hauls, you name it. You'll be able to track every referral and influencer sale, send commission payouts in 2 clicks, block codes from leaking to coupon sites, automate influencer seeding and gifting, and let affiliates cash out using over 700 payout options. Plus, it works seamlessly with your existing tech stack and channels like Shopify, Klaviyo, PostScript, and your TikTok shop dashboard. The craziest part is they're basically giving away free money. You can launch your affiliate program for free, which shouldn't take longer than a day if you focus, and enjoy a 30-day trial before ever paying for the app. That's right, you can use this software to turn your customers into affiliates for 30 days for free. To take advantage of this offer, go to socialsnowball.io/honest. That's socialsnowball.io/honest. Again, that's socialsnowball.io/honest. Would $1,000 help your business? Portless is giving new customers $1,000 to reinvest back into their business just for getting started. Right now, you are probably paying tariffs on most items in your warehouse before you even make a sale. That means your cash is just sitting there, trapped in inventory that might not even get sold. Not exactly a recipe for growth, right? But what if we told you there's a smarter way? With Portless, you only pay tariffs when an order ships after you've been paid by your customers. That means free up more working capital instantly, turn inventory into cash faster, and completely eliminate the risk of paying tariffs on unsold stock. Here's how it works. Portless helps you ship directly from China to your customers' doorsteps in just 5 to 8 days. Yes, that's exactly what Shein and Temu do, and you can do it too. You get access to your inventory days after manufacturing, keep less stock on hand, and only pay duties on what actually sells. No more guessing games, no more cash flow nightmares, just smarter, faster scaling. And remember, all new Portless customers get $1,000 to reinvest back into their business. Schedule your free strategy call today. Visit portless.com/honest. That's portless.com/honest. One more time, that's portless.com/honest. Shopify makes it easy to sell online, but unlocking streamlined global sales demands more. Don't let high cross-border fees, frustrating payment failures, and complex tax requirements hold back your store's international growth. Activate Reach instead. As a merchant of record, Reach helps high-growth brands like yours optimize global sales with local processing and automated tax compliance, all while protecting your store from fraud. Reach is already integrated with Shopify, so you can activate Reach with no extra dev work and start seeing results fast. Brands like Revolve and Everlane trust Reach to boost international approval rates to over 90% and cut cross-border costs by up to 40%. Expanding globally is just the first step. Optimizing performance is where the growth happens. Book a free, no-obligation consultation today and learn how you can level up your global sales at withreach.com/honest. That's withreach.com/honest. withreach.com/honest. Let's be real. Sales tax is a nightmare. You didn't start an e-commerce brand to stay up late Googling tax laws or stressing over whether you filed in the right state. If you're still trying to DIY your sales tax, or worse, using a tool that leaves most of the work on your plate, you need to check out Zamp. Zamp is a fully managed sales tax solution built specifically for e-commerce brands. That means actual experts handle everything: registration, filings, remittances, all of it. Brands like Tushy, Glamnetic, and David are already using Zamp to get sales tax off their plate. Some Zamp customers spend as little as 2 minutes a month thinking about tax. Imagine that. No confusing pricing tiers, no surprise fees, just one flat rate to make the entire mess disappear. And yes, it works seamlessly with Shopify, Amazon, BigCommerce, QuickBooks, and more. So, if you're tired of sales tax headaches and want to stop risking penalties or audits, go to zamp.com/honest and get 3 months free. That's ZAMP.com/HONEST. Zamp.com/honest. I do want to go back to the spatula company. And that's derivative. It evolved beyond spatulas at a certain point, correct?
Yes and no. I mean, we were, it was like cute and delightfully designed and very well made kitchenwares. So kitchen utensils and storage of all shapes and sizes. And, and we just kind of brought a very design centric point of view to this mostly commodity area that just hadn't been refreshed in that exact way. And it worked.
And so after the initial Kickstarter launch, you build a business, you start to really lock down, manufacturing and building this thing, marketing it, selling it. Like, what was the transition like beyond, like, Kickstarter kind of helps you find customers, but when you now have your own .com, how do you find more customers? Like, how did you grow this thing beyond that initial pop that you had?
So it was building at a time when the tools that are available to everybody today they literally didn't exist. But brands like mine are why they exist now, why those tools exist. But there was not like a ton of really cool remarketing stuff, and there weren't like incredible platforms for conversion optimization or customer management or retention or anything like that. So I built a lot of stuff from scratch. I was just coding newsletters in HTML, like sending them out.
That makes me feel terrible.
And I built our site on Magento because that was, open source and out of the box. And I knew, again, just enough code to like build my store. And we took all of our photography ourselves, and it was just very, very small and very, very scrappy. And that was in part because I think I was comfortable being scrappy and I like to build stuff and I was building fairly inexpensively, but also because like something better did not exist. So kind of, started in this very modest way. And as I was building, over the course of that 9 years, like e-commerce just lit up. But at the very beginning for us,
for the audience though, like what were those 9 years? When would you say you start to the exit?
So I started working on it in, late 2000s and started the business in 2012 and I sold it in 2021. And so I kind of, I round off to like the stuff that was built between 2010 and 2020 for commerce enablement was extraordinary, especially for like top line revenue generating. I mean, but we were not afforded all of those tools.
Well, even just the tools that existed, that the change in pace between when you first started the brand to around 2016 is when Shopify really started to take hold of the market. And that's when things really started to cook with gas.
Yeah.
But everything before that was like custom and scrappy and expensive.
Yeah. And so as a result of that and our unit economics, which I could really wax poetic about, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on like digital ads. I mean, none of the like the toolkit, right? Like the e-com toolkit that I deploy today on brands that I own is like just not there. There were not arrows in the quiver. So we went omnichannel. We went wholesale, and we built like a pretty extraordinary multi-channel business in thousands and thousands of specialty brick and mortar stores around the country, and then all the way up to, you know, like the most joyful, like Target says yes, and you're like, best day ever. Now I got to deal with it, but like best day ever. So by the end of my management of the business, we were in a lot of the majors. We were in numerous kind of larger regional specialty chains. Like I consider that businesses that have, say, between like 3 and 10 locations, and those tend to be regional. And then like lots and lots of just one-off mom and pop shops and specialty stores on what I would consider Main Street. And so that created this like wonderful, robust financial foundation for the business. You can churn one of those customers and there's like, oh, there's a lot more, there's a lot more where that came from. And that allowed us to start to play in the e-commerce space a little bit more. But again, like I didn't have a huge budget for customer acquisition because I had $2 left to spend after every sale on average. That is not CAC budget. And so that really started to influence our product roadmap, because I was, I think probably learning before there was a lot to learn from, that I needed to be careful with managing CAC, and that like I needed to create bundles in order to, and this is like the beginning of endless commerce. I'm like, okay, I need an algorithm for bundles so that like Target and Walmart.com are not fighting with each other over the same SKU. I'm giving them different SKUs, and I'm making sure that like I have available live inventory for each of those bundled offerings, and they're virtual bundles because I don't want to have to lock up inventory at my warehouse, which we managed ourselves as well. If this is a 7-piece bundle, I want to be able to sell each of those 7 pieces individually because they move at a different velocity, right? Like red ultimate spatulas move at like literally 10x the velocity of most of our other SKUs. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to do virtual bundling, like write an algorithm for that. And I got to like, run the demand algorithm for each of these channels and start to give them inventory advice on like as live of a basis as possible. And so we started to build some pretty incredible tools for ourselves to power those operations. But it was very much more like omni-channel focused and like a different type of top line, right? Like a different type of growth, this kind of like steady pace of, you can acquire a customer in 4 minutes with like a good funnel, maybe less. Actually, I'd be interested to know like what the fastest kind of conversion funnels are, but I'm guessing it's on the order of.
Yeah, definitely speedy when you get it super optimized. But I do want to, I've got 2 questions that came out of that. Well, one is more of a statement, like obviously like bundling. There are so many clients that we come across, and I'm sure when you're looking at brands to acquire or coach or whatnot, they just don't, bundling isn't a thing that they're doing. And it's just like, you're leaving so much money on the table here. The perceived value with a bundle is through the roof. The margins get better. Shipping is easier to kind of mark into the wholesale. It's just such a thing you need to do. So basically what I'm telling the listeners to do is like work on bundles. Like
work on bundles. Let's do bundles.
That's going to help your business. But so I know you sold that company, but you had built this kind of technology. How did you work that out of the sale? I'm just like really curious about that.
Well, I was in the luxurious position of not needing to sell. and frankly of selling near the top of the market. And when our acquirer came to see if we were interested in selling, my kind of immediate mental math, and then like the thing that I said was like, well, yeah, I'm working on this really cool tech over here, so sure, I'll sell you the brand because I want my time back to focus on this software platform and on some like a services platform that we had kind of built alongside it. And so that it wasn't even, it didn't come up in that way. Like it wasn't a contentious element of it, because it was more like, this is my reason for exiting.
You give me this, we'll figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. And they were acquiring brands, and so the technology thing I had on the side wasn't necessarily, even though it was highly of interest to me and like the next big challenge that I was excited to solve for, that's not what they were going out looking to acquire in any case.
Absolutely. But it's come full circle now, but you've reinvested back into a couple more brands?
Yeah. And my most kind of honest take on that is, so we sold in 2021, which was a tough climate for consumer brands. Post that, we sold at a great time, but post that we were rebuilding in a tough climate. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm kind of fighting a battle here to acquire customers for my services business, but I have a way of investing in and restructuring and turning around some of the businesses that are like in the most trouble. And so I started to buy consumer brands that needed like a second life, that had really great fundamentals and great branding and great teams, but that needed restructuring help, financial help, some operational help. And we have a team of, it's a lot of people now. At the time, it was around 30 people in like commerce operations on the services side for another business that I owned. And I thought, well, if we just kind of put more brands onto that platform, just like we did in the old days running our own brand, then like we really might have a thing here. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I've been doing recently. And it's all like just great learning and a playground for how can we help brands the most. And so when I acquire a distressed brand, some of what I'm looking into is, well, what can I extract here that is like repeatable, scalable, and useful to everybody, that I can put into endless commerce as like a feature that will help brands, get to escape velocity.
I was working on my follow-up question that was around like, are you dog fooding these brands with the endless commerce product?
It's delicious. It's absolutely. I will eat dog food all day long. Yeah. And I think that's, look, I might not be the most, typical SaaS founder.
I mean, you're just writing your
case
studies with brands that you're working with them, but also you own them, but it's still, here are the results.
Yeah, I think it's very powerful to have a blend, right? Because you need the gentle pushback or maybe antagonism or chaos of brands that you don't control, because there are totally unexpected lessons, aka features, that come out of relationships like that. And then I think it's also very valuable to have like these live action, living, breathing, brands with customers and optimization needs, where we can carefully run experiments, like controlled experiments with features that are more ambitious, mm-hmm. right? Like we're doing catalog, order, inventory management, demand planning and forecasting, bundling, supply chain management. A lot of those things are like, we may not screw them up. If we screw them up, we've ruined someone's day or life or year.
Well, that's what terrified me about getting into e-commerce in the first place. And Sean convinced me to do it a little over 8 years ago. And here we are today.
There's a lot of responsibility in that, right? Like we're a part of success for people. And I think that's at its highest and best what we want to be. But if you tread, too far left or right of that, then you're part of their failure. And that to me is like totally unacceptable. So we've experimented pretty successfully with some of these kind of like bigger, badder features on ourselves. And then when they're ready for showtime, it's like, okay, now everybody can have this tool.
That's amazing. Now, the name of the show is Honest Ecommerce.
Mhm.
Looking back on your tenure in this industry, are there any mistakes that may come to mind or just advice you want to give the audience? Like, hey, I did this. Maybe don't do this.
I mean, pick a lane. And there's so many mistakes. And so much fun that comes out of that. I think there's a few different ways that I could answer this question. So I'll give you my first kind of like knee-jerk answer. And then if you want me to dig into something that's like, I don't know, more technical or operational, I can. But like founder to founder, and I was alluding to this a little bit at the beginning of our conversation. If you cannot find a way to just be in the like zen of extraordinary joy around this thing that you're building, it will consume you in the bad way. And if you can be in that joy and like almost like self-actualize into it, then it will consume you in the good way. But one thing we know is it is going to consume you. And so I've got 3 kids and my husband's a part of my business and we're co-founders, and it has consumed my life. But I find it to be super joyful because I'm like playing a game with my best friend. It's a serious game. I mean, our livelihood is at stake. But that means having that attitude means that we can get energy from the like 9 p.m. work sprint sessions, like Saturday afternoons, like, working instead of being somewhere else. And I don't know that every business is as all consuming, and we happen to be running a couple. But I think that's like my most kind of like heartfelt advice for folks is like, if you can just find a way to gamify this for yourself and your whole life, then you can go forever. And that's like, you start a business and you're like, well, what if it works? But I mean, think about that. Really, like, what if it works?
Yeah.
And because if it works,
all those overnight successes took 20 years to get there.
Yeah. So I can give you other operational lessons or pain points or whatever.
Sure. Let's run through the those 1 or 2 more a little more quickly, maybe.
I'll go fast. Unit economics. Know them, love them, breathe them, but do not ignore them.
I think that unit economics are the number one thing ignored by a brand going from 0 to 1. They're like, money's coming in. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, it's arithmetic. Just know. Okay. Next, most honest take. There's a lot to be said for specialists and specialization. I think at an early stage, finding an obsessed team of generalists to just go chase with you is really valuable. Because founders have to wear a lot of hats, and that should be the fun of it. And I've found that in building teams, if you over specialize too early on, then you're left with a bunch of folks who are like, well, that's not my problem. And I'm like, well, it's all our problem. So from a team building perspective, I love throwing in with people who've sort of like lived various parts of it before, or are willing to learn every part of it. And like, for example, all of the folks that work at Endless Commerce get exposure to the brands in our portfolio because they're learning like the customer pain, and the customer pain is like a pretty generalized pain. There's a lot of different needles, sticking into every customer. And I want us to kind of have a lot of that lived experience of empathy and knowing how to solve for it in a very aligned way, and not just like, well, this is the way our tool works. So
yeah, and that's regardless if you're building a software product or an e-commerce brand. Your customers are going to tell you exactly what they want, how to make it better, how to sell them more of something.
Yep.
Now, is there anything I didn't ask you about do you think would resonate with our audience?
Oh my gosh. Well, no, we've covered a lot of territory. I mean, we could talk about Stack overall, and I have a point of view on this. So
I would love to hear it.
Here's my ulterior. I'm talking my book. I've found that building commerce stacks is really fun, but complicated. And I think that we've gone through these eras or phases of like unbundling the tech stack and rebundling the tech stack, like unbundling it again. And I'm interested actually in your perspective on where the bundling is. Are we in a rebundling era? Like which Taylor Swift era of commerce stacks are we in?
I just want to clarify for our audience. We're not talking about bundling as in like you buy a shirt
Not
and a pant and an outfit.
Yeah.
No. We're talking about right now, a lot of money went into a lot of big technology companies. They started gobbling up smaller ones, and now their thing does 9 features. I am a fan of a feature that does the best job.
Yeah.
I think I can understand why some companies want, and it's why I think some companies want like an agency of record that does everything for them because they like just talking to one person. And if that simplifies their life in business for the better, so be it. But I think if you are looking to get the best outcome, having the best person or tool for the job is going to be the best result.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's Shopify.
Did they pay you to say that?
No, but I would love for them to sponsor this podcast.
Pay yourself to say that.
I do own Shopify stock, and all I do is build Shopify stores all day long.
I can see why you might feel that way.
Well, also, I hear it from all of the people that pay us lots of money to move them from another platform to Shopify.
Totally. Yeah, I'm in the midst of a couple of migrations like that myself, and it's like they've built such an extraordinary tool, and I think going back to an earlier thought here, like they have turned commerce store building into play. It is fun to build a Shopify store.
I was just talking about this earlier, and I hope this thought comes out complete, but Shopify's made it so easy for founders and non-technical or subject matter expert even at this point, people to like build and manipulate their stores. But what they're doing is they're setting up their stores in goofy ways that then make it difficult later on to figure out stuff and fix data.
Yeah.
I think it was a gentleman actually from like a similar company to Endless Commerce now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But he was just like, yeah, we see so much just bad data.
Yeah. And what I love about a tool like Shopify, and I think a lot of the paradigm and opinionation that we're bringing to Endless Commerce is like, we want to build the very best tool for the job that's easy and fun to use, that guides you toward really good outcomes. And those are data outcomes too, right? Like we're going to help you structure this data. And when I'm talking about our business in like a really nerdy way, which is not how I'm characterizing this right now. This is like a cool podcast. But if I was talking about it in like a really nerdy way, I would say that one of our ambitions is to help brands structure the unstructured data that starts to explode from their business when they're scaling quickly. Because you can build structure for your data if you have time. And whether you're doing that in Excel or Google Sheets or a point solution, if you've got the time, like you can kind of build for the tool. And what that overlooks is that like oftentimes the most exciting scaling moments for a brand are unpredictable, right? Like you launch a new product and it just hits, or like some other element of the customer or the market starts to push you into product market fit in a way that is just like extraordinary. Like it's driving from within the business and not just something that like, you're hacking at anymore, but like it's starting to kind of flywheel. And in those moments, you don't really have the luxury of like rebuilding everything. You just got to roll with it and be grateful for the success. And, tools like Shopify, tools like, I hope, Endless Commerce make it so that the structuring and the scaling in that moment is a little bit more like, well, it's already just here. So let's just let it fly.
Now, if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm curious about Endless Commerce, like what's going on in my life, my business, that Endless Commerce might be a solution? And if so, where the heck do I go to learn more?
Endlesscommerce.com. And I almost feel like, thank you for the opportunity to share about this. Like I desperately want to help founders that are sort of like on the path that I was on. And that's where a lot of this is coming from. But for the slightly shameless shill piece of it all, which is not what this is about. We're going to go back to talking about shitty growth experiences. You are, like I was, a brand that is hitting some success. That has probably some data living in a few different places, right? So there's maybe like a team of, I don't know, more than 2 people, maybe like 3 or 4 people up to 100 or more that have varying levels of kind of like ownership or responsibility around the core data infrastructure of the business. And to make that like less mysterious, it's like, well, what's in our catalog? Like what are we selling and who's making it and how much does it cost us to make it? And what are our import costs? And oh wait, who's our freight forwarder? Like how are we importing it and how many channels are we selling it on? And what channels do we want to sell it on next? And how are we describing this product differently on different channels so that we map to what makes that channel tick the best? Like, so that's the catalog at the heartbeat. It is the heartbeat of the business. And there ought to be a lot of different people generating that catalog, right? Like the marketing team is describing the thing, but the product team is like inventing the thing, and the supply chain management team is like getting the thing, and then like the e-com ops team is starting to sell the thing, and then like the brick and mortar sales team is like selling it, in real life. And all of those folks are stakeholders to that kind of like core heart of data. So if you've got a lot of people that are responsible for that information and maybe like starting to trip over each other a little bit and it's slowing down your growth, like I want to talk to you. Like that's at the core of it all. And then I think another way to characterize the businesses that we will add the most value to are ones where they're not just direct to consumer. And I've mentioned multi-channel a couple of times now. Yeah. Like if you are on Shopify or any other cart of record and in any physical store, we can help you. And that's where I think the rubber really hits the road with unstructured data for businesses. Like if you've ever gotten an order, so someone's sending you money as a fax or as a PDF or as a Slack message or as a text message. Like I've gotten purchase orders from stores as text messages. Hi, Sam, can you send 20? I'll like write you a check. Like, yes, please. I would like that check. But like, where do I put that information?
Yeah.
So if your growth is starting to kind of explode in that direction, the kind of lateral direction, instead of like deeper, just pure digital penetration, including like dropship, and stuff like that, then you're going to need a place to put it all. And that's kind of the exciting big bucket that I want to build.
That's amazing. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and talking about this. By the way, we are recording this at Shop Talk in Vegas. How are you? Are you enjoying the conference?
The best
Absolutely.
Day ever.
And we have to get back to it. So we do have to end it today. Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestycommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.